Good morning and welcome to yoga. So let's go ahead and start out in a supine position that's on your back. So we'll come into what's called constructive rest pose. You can tent your knees together. So once you lie down, you'll bend your knees and have your feet flat on the mat. If you have some blocks handy, that can be helpful for later. And you can allow your feet to be as wide as your mat. I'm going to move my blanket and strap out of the way. And then just allow your arms to rest at your sides, or you might bring your hands onto your belly. Just allow yourself to arrive in this present moment. You might begin to sense the rise and fall of your breath. And while you're arriving in this present moment, I wanted to talk about the theme for this month's class. So for the month of March in 2021, not 2001, I've been studying the yama, and yama is the yoga's ethical practices. And the yama for this month is asteya. So this is our last class talking about asteya. Asteya means non-stealing. So I have a quote from The Path of the Yoga Sutras. This is a book that I've been reading that talks about the yamas and niyamas. And this book is by Nikolai Bachman. I feel like that's important to say in terms of non-stealing. The value of a man resides in what he gives and not in what he is capable of receiving. And that quote is actually from Albert Einstein. So Nikolai Bachman says that asteya, which is the third of the yamas, is not taking from others and accepting only what is earned or freely given. And this can include honesty, trust, generosity, and reciprocity. Or no, receptivity. Sorry. Reciprocity sounds good too, though. Some other thoughts to consider with asteya: not coveting or envying what others brings gratitude and prosperity. I can become trustworthy through honesty, integrity, and contentment. I will not take what belongs to others or steal attention away from them. And some exercises we can consider. So if you took credit for someone else's work, or you gave someone something with expectations of receiving something in return. And so just thinking about this last class of March, you might just consider an intention that you have for your practice today. Maybe you want to include the idea of asteya, non-stealing. In what ways can we practice this in terms of our own relationship to ourself, not stealing from ourself by maybe not comparing ourselves with others? We might consider it in our relationship to others by how we give and how we receive. Maybe we can consider asteya in terms of our relationship to the planet, maybe even to our relationship with our own future. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath. Exhale. And then think about how you want to incorporate either this theme or your intention for your practice today. And then with your feet as wide as the mat, you can extend your arms out wide to the side And with your next exhale, allow your knees to float over to the left. You might allow your gaze to float over to the right. And then inhale, we'll bring the knees and nose back up to center. And exhale, you can float the knees over to the right and send the gaze over towards your left hand. And just take a moment to windshield wiper the knees and nose from side to side. Just noticing any sensations in the body. If you're finding that you have any thoughts of the future or the past, you can just invite yourself into this present moment. And the next time your knees fall over to the left, go ahead and reach your right arm up past your ear, finding a stretch from the right knee all the way to the right fingertips. Maybe you send your gaze up towards your right fingertips. And then we'll bring the knees back to center. And this time float the knees over to the to the right. And we're going to extend the left hand up past the ear. And you might send your gaze up towards your left fingertips, finding a long body stretch from the left knee all along the left side. And then we'll come back to center. And let's roll onto, so you can shift your hips over to the left and roll onto your right side. You might bring your hand to rest on your temple, and then you can bring the knees together and the heels together. We're going to do a few rounds of clamshells. So just lifting and lowering the left knee with the heels glued together. You might start to find some engagement in the outer left hip and the glutes. If it feels better, you can always rest your head on your bicep. And we'll just take a few rounds here. And then when you're ready, you can come to stillness and glue the knees together and then begin to lift and lower the left heel. Just finding a little bit of internal rotation. You might notice how the feeling of strengthening in your glute and your hip can change with this different movement. And when you're ready, you can release that, and then we'll roll onto our back. So your knees are still on the side. You're opening your chest up for a twist with the knees stacked. We're going to do a little bit of strengthening with the obliques here. So go ahead and bring the arms behind you, interlace the hands, and allow the hands to rest on the back of the head. Your elbows are open wide, and you can begin to pulse your nose up towards the sky. Finding some strengthening in the obliques, the side waist. Just finding a steady, smooth breath. When you're ready, you can release your hands. Allow yourself to enjoy the twist. Maybe send the gaze over towards the left fingertips. And then you can draw the left hand up and over and reach it towards the right hand. So now you're clapping your palms together. On your next inhale, you can glide the left hand across the chest, opening back up into the twist, sending the gaze over towards the left hand. Let's do that 2 more times. So inhale, bring the left hand up and overhead, rainbow it over towards the right hand. And then inhale, glide the left hand open, open the chest, open the heart into your twist. Take a nice deep breath. And on your next exhale, you can once more close the left hand over to the right. And then inhale, sweep the left hand open. And one more nice deep breath in your twist. Now we'll roll onto our back with the knees facing up towards the sky. And this time you can shift your hips over to the right. Allow the knees to fall over to the left. And we'll roll onto our left side. You can either cradle your head on your palm with your elbow bent, or you might rest your head on your bicep. And with the heels glued together, we'll begin to lift and lower the right knee. Finding your strength in your outer hip, and your glutes. And just take as many rounds of clamshell as feels good to you. You can always rest if you need a little break, but we're finding that engagement in the outer hip. Building strength to support the knee. And then we'll glue the knees together and begin to pulse the heel up towards the sky. So like a reversed clamshell. You might just notice how the sensation changes in the body. And then whenever you're ready, you can come back to stillness. And we'll open the chest up by extending the right arm over with the knees continuing to stack here. You can sweep the hands behind the head, interlace them to create a little hammock for the head, and then begin to pulse the nose up towards the sky, strengthening the core muscles, the side waist. Just keeping a strong, steady, smooth breath. When you're ready, you can release that and relax into your twist. Maybe send the gaze over towards the right fingertips. And then with your next exhale, you can float the right hand up towards the sky and rainbow it over towards the left palm. Bringing the palms to touch. And then inhale, glide the right arm back open into your twist. Go ahead and do that 2 more times on your next exhale. You can rainbow the right hand over. Inhale, open back up into your twist. Exhale 1 more time. Gliding the right hand over to meet the left. And then inhale to open back up into the twist. Go ahead and take a nice deep breath in your twist. And then with your next exhale, we'll come back onto the back and plant the feet into a tabletop position. From here, let's come into hands and knees in a reverse tabletop. So your knees are coming up towards the sky with the shins parallel with the ceiling. And then you can bring the palms facing up towards the sky as well. You'll notice you might need to begin to engage with the core. So drawing the belly button in towards the spine, pressing the low back towards the mat. You can stay right here, just finding your core engagement. Or if you like, we can do an upside down bird dog. So with your next inhale, go ahead and kick the right leg long to hover and stretch the left arm overhead, allowing it to hover. And then exhale, we'll draw it back to center. So we're doing opposite sides. On the next inhale, you can reach the right arm long, kick the left leg long, and then exhale, draw it back to center. Go ahead and take a few rounds, alternating side to side. Inhale to stretch it long, and exhale to draw it back. Go ahead and take one more round on each side. And when you feel complete from left to right, you can stretch your legs long, reach your arms overhead, and find a long body stretch. You might rotate the wrists and rotate the ankles. And then we'll come back to stillness here and find a little side bend. So you can reach the arms over to the right. You might grasp hold of the left wrist with the right hand. And then you might walk the legs over to the right. And if you'd like to increase the stretch, maybe you cross the left ankle over the right shin. Just allow the breath to cascade down the left side of the body. Taking a nice deep breath. Imagine the breath like the wave of an ocean crashing down the side of the left. From the fingertips all the way down the side to the heel. And then when you're ready, we'll walk it back to center and then find the other side. So walk the arms over to the left this time. You might grasp hold of the left wrist, the right wrist with the left hand. Maybe you walk the legs over to the left and cross the right ankle over the left shin. And then find this long stretch all along the right side. Allowing the breath to soothe down the right side body from the fingertips all along the side, all the way to the heel. Notice where you can soften your effort. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then you can come back to center. Go ahead and bend the knees, planting the feet. And you can roll onto your right or left side. And then press yourself up into a seat. We'll come into our seated position you can either have the legs crossed or the ankles crossed. Maybe you decide to cross the opposite way that you're used to crossing, just to change it up for your body. And then with your next inhale, we'll reach the arms up overhead and draw the hands to the heart center. You can allow the head to bow down towards the heart. And you might take a moment to revisit your intention for your practice today. And we'll blink the eyes open and once more inhale to reach the arms up overhead. And this time on your next exhale, you can plant the right hand next to you. You might walk the fingertips out a little bit and then reach the left arm up and over, maybe sending your gaze up towards the sky. On the next exhale, let's melt the left fingertips down towards the ground. And then inhale to circle sweep the left arm back up and overhead. You can go ahead and take 2 more rounds, circling your fingertips down towards the ground, and then inhale to sweep it back up and over. You might just gently follow the fingertips with your gaze, finding a gentle stretch for the neck. After your last round, we'll inhale to press up to center, growing tall through the spine, looking up, and then exhale. Go ahead and plant the left palm, maybe walking the fingertips out a little ways, and rainbowing the right hand overhead. You might gaze up to find a gentle stretch for the neck. And then with your next exhale, go ahead and melt the right fingertips down. Inhale, sweep the right hand up and overhead. You can go 2 more times at your own pace. You might allow your gaze to follow your fingertips, finding a gentle stretch for the neck. After your last round, we'll inhale to come back to center, reach the fingertips up towards the sky, you can interlace the palms and then switch the palms so they're facing up. On your next exhale, allow the hands to gently fall down in front. You might see how slow and steady you can allow them to come down, feeling the movements in your shoulders. Once your hands arrive in your mat, you can bring the palms out in front with your fingers interlaced and just take a few rounds of figure eights, warming up through the wrists. When you're ready, you can reverse the direction of your figure eights. And then we'll release the hands and give them a little shake. When you're ready, you can reverse the cross of your ankles if that feels good. And from here, we'll do a few rounds of seated cat-cow. So you might bring your hands onto your knees or onto your shins. And then inhale, reach the heart forward like cow pose. Exhale, round the spine back like cat. You can take a few rounds at your own pace, feeling the movement of your spine. Imagine you are able to lead the movement with your heart center. Maybe after a few rounds, you'd like to start to find some other movements here. Finding a circle, reaching the heart forward and around. And you might begin to just marvel over the design of your perfect body, finding gratitude for the spine. And then go ahead and reverse the direction of your circle. Imagining that just like with life, you want to lead with your heart. And we'll find one more round. And then we can meet up at center. Go ahead and lengthen the spine and the crown of the head up towards the sky. And we'll find a gentle stretch for the neck. So bracing your hands on your knees, you can just allow the right ear to fall towards the right shoulder. Finding length through the left side neck. You might want to find a little bit of movement here. Maybe you begin to gently nod your head yes. And gently then shake your head no. And then we'll bring the chin towards the shoulder. And you can allow the chin to glide down, tracing a big circle along the chest. And then allow the left ear to fall towards the left shoulder. Allow the right shoulder to melt away as you find length through the right side neck. Take a nice deep breath here. And then you might shake your head no. And then nod your head yes. And then you can go ahead and allow the chin to trace the front of the chest. And then we'll bring the nose and the chin back up to center. Whenever you're ready, we'll make our way into hands and knees, into a tabletop position. So you might gently roll over the top of your shins and then pivot your feet behind you. We'll stack the palms underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips. And let's find a few rounds of cat and cow here. Inhale to drop the belly, lifting the heart forward. Exhale to round the spine, drawing the belly towards the spine for cat pose. So you can take a few rounds of cat and cow at your own pace. And again, once you have taken a few rounds, if you'd like, you can start to draw a big circle with the belly button. If you find any places along that circle that need extra attention, you might pause there for a moment, just sending breath into any areas of tension or holding. When you're ready, you can go ahead and reverse the direction of that circle. Once more, finding gratitude for the spine and all the different directions it can move. allowing for time and space for any of those sticky spots that need extra attention. And then we'll meet back in a neutral spine when you're ready. And let's come into thread the needle. So you can walk the knees a little bit wider than hips distance. Bring the big toes to touch like you're getting ready for child's pose. And we'll plant the right palm and then inhale to lift the left arm up towards the sky. You might gaze up at your left fingertips. And then with your next exhale, we'll sweep the left hand under the body and roll onto the left shoulder. You might continue to support your weight here with your right hand if this feels like enough sensation. Or you might walk your right fingers out in front. A third option would be to sweep that hand around, the right hand, and allow the back of the palm to rest at the low back. Take some nice deep breaths into the shoulder, allowing the temple to rest. And whenever you're ready, we'll bring that right palm back underneath the right shoulder, pressing into the earth. Let's inhale to open back up, reaching the left hand up towards the sky and looking up. On your next exhale, let's switch sides so you can plant the left hand underneath the shoulder. Inhale to open the right arm up towards the sky. You might look up. And then on the next exhale, we'll thread that needle under, coming onto the right shoulder this time, allowing the temple to rest. You can support your weight with your left palm, or you might walk the left hand out in front, like child's pose, or maybe spin the left hand around and allow it to gently rest at the low back. Take a nice deep breath into this twist. Sending breath into the shoulder. And then when you're ready, let's press into the left hand, planting the left hand underneath the shoulder. You can press up, reach the right fingertips up towards the sky, and then exhale to release that side. Let's pause for a moment in child's pose. So with the knees still wider than hips distance, you can bring the big toes to touch, sink the hips back, and walk the hands out in front, lowering your forehead to the mat. If it feels too far, the forehead feels too far from the earth, you could also stack the palms or stack the fists to make a little pillow to rest the forehead. Take one more nice deep breath in your child's pose. And then we'll come back up to hands and knees. You can walk the knees back closer together. And then we'll tuck the toes under to find broken toe pose. So if you have blocks or something that you can hold on to, this can help. We're tucking the toes under and then walking the hips back to bring the weight maybe on top of the heels, finding that stretch for the undersides of the feet. And with this deep stretch, you might find some deep breaths, sending the breath all the way down towards the feet. And with that, you might send some gratitude for all the places, all the things that your feet do for you. And then when you're ready, we'll come off of the feet, untuck the toes, and give them a gentle pat. From here, if you have blocks underneath your hands, you can walk your hands over to the right, and we'll step the left foot forward to come into a lunge. And I forgot to mention, if you want a pad underneath the knees, you can always bring a blanket underneath the knees. I have a lot of padding because I have carpet underneath my mat. So from here, let's walk the hands onto the thigh, and maybe you can walk the hands onto the hips. And perhaps you inhale to reach the arms up overhead, finding a little bit of balance. Inhale to lift the heart, maybe lift the gaze. And on the next exhale, we're going to bring the right hand out in front and sweep the left hand behind us to open up for a twist. On the next exhale, you can plant the right hand on the ground or maybe a block and sweep the left hand up towards the sky. Maybe you want to tuck the right toes under and lift the right knee. And then on the next exhale, we'll sweep both hands down to blocks or your mat. And from here, you can step the right foot forward to meet the left and come into a forward fold. So bending the knees a little bit and maybe crossing the opposite hand to the opposite elbow. Allow yourself to gently ragdoll from side to side. You could shake the head no, releasing that which does not serve you. And nod the head yes, inviting in new opportunities. And then you can bring your hands to the mat, or you might bring the hands onto the tops of blocks, or even press your hands into your shins or your upper thighs. We're going to come into halfway lift. So inhaling to flatten the back, reaching the crown of the head forward. Exhale for forward fold. And then bend into the knees. And you can allow the spine to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Inhale to reach the arms up overhead. And exhale to draw the hands to heart center. Let's do that one more time. Inhale to reach the arms up overhead. Exhale to swan dive forward. Inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. From here, you can plant your palms, walking your feet back to find downward dog, or if you'd like, you can come into a child's pose. If you'd like to skip the down dog. In your downward facing dog, you might pedal your heels towards the mat, sashaying the hips a little bit side to side. And then we'll bend the knees and bring the knees to hover over the mat. So finding a little bit of strength in the core. Whenever you're ready, you can gently land the knees. And then we'll walk the hands back to find our hero's pose. Coming to sit on the heels. Take a nice deep breath, maybe closing down the eyes. And then when you're ready, you can blink the eyes open. We'll inhale to come up to standing on the knees. And then you can use your blocks or just step the right foot forward, coming into that low lunge. And I should mention that if this is hard on the knee, you could use the blanket, or you could even tuck the toes under and lift the knee. You could do a higher lunge. It's just going to require a bit more balance. So from here, we'll walk the hands up to the thigh and then onto the hips. And then you might inhale to reach the arms up overhead, sending the arms past the ears, maybe looking up. On your next exhale, we'll bring the left hand out in front, sweep the right hand behind you for a twist. And then with your next exhale, bring the left palm down to the ground or a block and reach the right fingertips up towards the sky. From here, you might tuck the left toes under and lift the left knee. With your next exhale, we'll sweep the right hand down to the ground or to a block. And then however works for you, you can step the left foot forward to meet the right and come into a forward fold. Let's wrap our hands around our opposite elbows. And once more, allow yourself to ragdoll from side to side. With your next exhale, release the hands down towards the mat. And then you can bring them onto the tops of blocks or your shins or thighs. And then inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. You can bend into the knees. And then inhale to circle sweep up to stand. And exhale to draw the hands to the heart center. From here, we'll come into our chair pose. So you can either allow your toes to touch, or that's kind of challenging for me. So I like to keep my feet on train tracks. And then your next exhale, bend into your seat. Imagine you're coming to sit back in a chair. Draw the belly towards the spine. You can leave your hands at prayer at heart center, or you might inhale to sweep them up past the ears. On your next inhale, we'll rise to center, and then exhale to swan dive forward. Let's go ahead and inhale for halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Let's plant the palms, and you can walk the feet back, downward facing dog, or maybe child's pose. Take a moment to check in with your breath. In down dog, you might pedal your heels one at a time towards the mat, sashaying the hips a little side to side. We're going to try pigeon pose. So from here, from your downward dog, or even from tabletop, you can kick your right heel up towards the sky. We call this three-legged dog. On the next exhale, draw the knee in and plant it right next to your right palm. And then you can sweep the foot, the right foot, towards the left palm. And you can allow the left leg to glide behind you, directly behind you. You can stay right here in an upright pigeon, or you can allow yourself to fold forward, maybe bringing a block, or if you don't have a block, I like to stack my palms to bring a little pillow to rest your forehead. Now you could also bring a block or a blanket or even a bolster to rest underneath that right hip if it wants a little bit more support. You can always do this pose on your back too. It's a reclined figure four, so I'll just show that in case anyone prefers that. So if you're not into this pigeon shape, you can come onto your back and cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Maybe you wrap a strap behind your left thigh, or just interlace the fingers to draw the shape into the body. So wherever you land, take a moment to check in with your breath in pigeon or figure four, noticing where you feel the sensation in your body. This might be a nice stretch for that outer hip, right outer hip that we strengthened with the clamshell. If you're in the pigeon or in the figure four, we're going to come into a twist next. So you can roll onto your right hip and your legs are in a staggered deer position or like a pinwheel. And so we'll inhale to reach the arms up overhead and then exhale, go ahead and twist to the right, bringing the left hand onto the right knee and sending the gaze behind the right shoulder. And with your next exhale, allow the chin to trace the front of the chest, and then you can send the gaze behind the left shoulder for a counter stretch for the neck. And with your next inhale, we'll unravel our twist and we'll get ready for the other side. So if you're coming into pigeon, you can come onto hands and knees or downward facing dog. We'll kick the left heel up behind you for three-legged dog. And then on the next exhale, you can sweep that left knee forward, land it next to the left palm, and maybe you start to creep the right foot or the left foot towards the left hand, towards the right hand, I should say. And you can stay in an upright pigeon for a moment, or when you're ready, you can allow yourself to gently fold forward, maybe finding a block or a pillow, or stacking the fists to rest the forehead. And just as a reminder, if you prefer the shape on your back, you can come to lying on the back, cross the left ankle over the right shin, or the right thigh, I should say, and then draw the shape into the body for a deeper stretch, maybe wrapping a strap behind the right thigh, or interlacing the fingers behind the right thigh. Take a moment wherever you land, your pigeon or your figure four, to send your breath to the outer left hip. We'll take one more nice deep breath here. And then if you're in pigeon, you can roll onto your left hip. And if you're on your back, you can come to sitting for this twist or do a lying down twist. We'll have our legs in a pinwheel and then inhale to reach your arms up overhead and go ahead and turn to the left, bringing your right hand onto your left knee. And you can anchor your left hand behind you as you gaze behind the left shoulder. With your next exhale, allow the chin to trace the front of the chest. And you can send your gaze behind the right shoulder. And then we'll release the twist. Swing the feet around in front of you. And let's try some variations of boat pose. So with the knees up towards the sky, you can reach your arms out. Or if you'd like to try a little bit of balance, you might bring your hands behind your thighs and tip back to find balance and strengthen the core. Maybe you extend the legs long in front of you. You might even release your hands to stretch them forward. Take a few rounds of breath in your boat pose. And then when you're ready, you can land the feet and begin to extend onto your back. And let's walk the feet up towards the sit bones. And from here, we'll bring the hands, the palms face down next to the hips. And then with your next inhale, you can lift the hips, coming into bridge. Tucking the chin towards the chest. And on your next exhale, go ahead and lower your spine back down one vertebrae at a time. We'll draw the knees into the chest, wrapping your hands around your shins or the back of your thighs. You can gently rock a little bit side to side. And then you might bring your knees towards your armpits and walk your hands up to your shins or your ankles, or maybe grasp hold of the knife edge of your foot and find happy baby pose. Gently rocking from side to side. Might feel good to land on one knee and stretch the opposite leg long. Let's explore any movements here in happy baby. We're going to get ready for our final resting pose, Shavasana. So you're welcome to cozy up with a blanket, maybe put socks on. You might drape a blanket or something over your eyes to block the light. Just allow yourself to come into a resting position that feels comfortable for you. Might also feel good to put a blanket underneath the knees. Just give a little bit of support. Once you arrive in your final resting pose, you might take one more opportunity to check in with your intention for your practice today. And then allow yourself to cultivate gratitude for this body that brought you here. Gratitude for all of your efforts, for showing up for yourself. Just allow yourself to come into relaxation, releasing all of the thoughts of the past, releasing all of your plans for the future. Just allowing yourself this time to rest and fully integrate. Notice the rise and fall of your breath. You can feel the support of the earth rising to meet you. This week you might consider the yama asteya, non-stealing. And just knowing that it is better to give than receive, but we want to try and balance that. So if you find that you're a giver, how might you allow yourself to receive this week? If you find that you're someone who isn't as giving, in what ways might you find yourself able to give more freely this week without any expectations of receiving? And since you're home and this is your very own practice, you can feel free to stay for as long as you'd like in your final resting pose, Shavasana, corpse pose. If you're ready to reawaken your body, you can start to invite gentle movements into your fingers and toes, gently rotating your wrists and your ankles. Take a nice deep breath and reach your arms up past your ears to find a long body stretch. Whenever you're ready, you can roll over to one side and find a fetal position. You might pause there for another round or two of breath. Whenever you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. Inhale to receive, bringing in the breath, bringing in the light. And then you can bring the hands to the heart center. Allow your head to humbly bow towards the wisdom of your loving heart. Thank you so much for joining me. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Thanks for being a part of this practice this morning. And you can feel free to reach out if you have any questions or thoughts about class.
Thank you so much.